G'day viewers. Today is the third anniversary of my diagnosis for multiple myeloma, that's blood cancer, so it's the 16th of December today. So I just wanted to give you my annual update. This year has been somewhat disappointing. It started out good. I had a paraprotein level of 0, and 0 is what it actually should be in a normal human being. So many of you who are watching probably don't have blood cancer, don't have myeloma, so your paraprotein levels will be 0. And I won't talk about what myeloma is. There's plenty of resources available on the internet. You can look it up. But basically, my body produces too many, or my bone marrow most specifically produces too many white cells. These white cells transform into plasma cells, and I produce basically antibodies that basically don't work. They're broken. So that puts me at risk of infections, diseases, and this kind of thing. In addition to this, my blood volume becomes overpopulated with these plasma cells, these myeloma cells, and I don't have enough red blood cells, and that leads to fatigue, so on and so forth. So that's in summary what the nature of myeloma is. And at the start of 2023, my paraprotein levels were 0, following actually 2 bone marrow transplants, which I had done in 2021. So I had a good 2022, and the start of 2023 up until about May was looking good as well. And then in about May, my paraproteins started increasing. Now that was a bit of a concern for me, a bit of a worry, because I only got about half of the expected lifetime from the transplants that I should have expected. So the expectation was that before my paraproteins would start rising again, it'd be somewhere between 3 to 5 years, but they started rising again after about 18 months. So that took me to, roughly speaking, about May of 2023. My paraprotein started rising again. Now they've been continuing to rise, up to a certain level, up to a paraprotein level of 5, nothing is basically done. Then when the level hits 7, you've officially relapsed. And my paraprotein levels now are at, I think the last blood test revealed, at 13. When I was diagnosed with blood cancer, when I was originally diagnosed with myeloma, my paraproteins were at 82. So I'm still a long way from where I was, but I'm definitely not headed in the right direction. And the blood cells, the plasma cells, the myeloma can skyrocket at any time. So as a consequence of all this, we're now looking at another line of treatment. I've been hoping to be part of a trial drug that is more effective than the standard treatment. However, due to my medical situation, I've been excluded from the trial, so I'm going to have to commence standard treatment, which is going to happen early in January. So probably the next time I see the doctor, given the holiday season, it's not a very good time to get sick or require medical, specialist medical services anywhere in the world this time of year because of the Christmas period. So anyway, I'll be beginning my next line of treatment in about January. I hope that I'm going to respond to that. I may or may not do so. If I don't respond to that, and my myeloma, my plasma cells just explode, they start skyrocketing, then I'm in real trouble. My secondary issue at the moment, but as far as a personal point of view, it's probably my primary concern, is my peripheral neuropathy. So I have basically sore feet 24/7, and it is hell. It is like walking on golf balls. I mean, I can barely sort of wear shoes. It is extremely difficult to live with, and really affects my mobility. I developed neuropathy as a consequence of the chemotherapy that was administered. It's relatively common, but hits about 15% of the chemotherapy population, with respect to myeloma at least. Hits about 15% of that population very, very hard, and I'm one of the people that it has hit very, very hard. Fortunately, only in my feet. I don't have it in my hands as well as my feet, and some people get it really hard in both extremities. So for me, it's just my feet, but it is definitely an issue of that causes mobility issues. I try and deal with it as best as I can. I've tried all the major, very serious, narcotic pain reliefs available. I've tried tramadol, Targen, Endone. At the moment, I'm experimenting with Valium to try and help me manage the discomfort associated with that condition. And for those of you who don't understand what neuropathy is, I'll describe it by analogy. When it first hit me, which was at its worst, probably, 2 years ago now, when it first hit me, it was literally like, imagine taking off your shoes and walking through the snow barefoot, say for 2 or 3 minutes, and then coming inside and immediately immersing your feet, which have all been frozen numb, into a bucket of hot water. That was the discomfort that I felt in the early days. Now, since then, and it's actual nerve damage. So the particular drug, the specific drug which has caused this grief for me, is called Velcade, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But the Velcade actually causes physical damage to your nerve cells. So I've had all my large nerve cell fibres tested, all good. The damage is confined to the small nerve cells, and so I've transitioned from my feet being on fire 24/7 to basically having the sensation of walking on golf balls 24/7, which is damn uncomfortable. It affects your stability, so I tend to bump into things. I certainly can't run anywhere. I couldn't run from danger. So if I was in a work environment and there was a fire, I'd have a real problem exiting the building. So it just, crossing the road can be a bit of an issue, because if you're trying to do it in with a bit of haste, it's a problem, because I can't really do it, crossing the road. I force myself to undergo an hour of cardiovascular exercise every day, despite the extreme discomfort. But I do that because I don't want to have a heart attack. The drugs that I've got to take for chemotherapy tend to thicken the blood, so I try and combat that effect by doing cardiovascular every day. Being in my situation, I put all of my trust into the doctors, into medical science. There's not really much that I, as an individual, can do to help my situation out. about all I can do is try and be as healthy as possible, as much as possible. So I certainly don't touch junk food anymore. I haven't had that in many, many months. I do cardiovascular exercise every day. Look, I have no idea if any of this helps me at all, but quite frankly, I have a feeling of powerless. I'm a feeling of being completely powerless. So I'm just grasping at straws, trying to convince myself mentally that at least I'm doing something to help myself out. I don't know if it's actually working or not. It's certainly not going to harm me. So I'm doing it. I've also found that look, I'm a crazy, mad, crazy, keen cyclist, and that's been largely taken away from me now because of the myeloma. But sometimes I am able to get back onto the bike and go for a ride. The neuropathy is not just limited to my feet; it's also limited to my. It's also runs up my calves as well. So to help manage that, I have found that magnesium pills tends to assist with the cramping that I will get after a ride because of the neuropathy. So look, I'm just doing whatever I can to try and manage the discomfort. I'm now officially disabled according to the Australian government, so I have a permanent physical disability. It's not something that I'm happy about at all. I never imagined that at my age I would be disabled. I mean, I feel like I've been robbed by nature. 25 years of life. I mean, this is the kind of thing I would expect to have developed, 25 or 30 years down the track. Not at my current age. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But I don't know. I don't feel like I'm too old. The doctors certainly call me young. So that's basically where I'm at and what I've been going through. Regarding the next line of treatment, I had actually considered not undergoing any treatment at all. That may sound absolutely bizarre to some of you watching, but that's because you're not me and you haven't lived my life and you don't know what it's like to live with the effects of this illness that I have to live with. All of the treatments, any treatment, be it experimental or standard, doesn't matter what it is, involves, there are three components. Typically there's a drug called Velcade, there's steroids, typically dexamethasone, that's what I take, and then there's the third component, and the third component is some other drug. In standard treatment, I can't recall what its name is. In experimental treatment, it would be something else. So my issue is actually with Velcade, specifically, mostly because it's the Velcade which actually causes the nerve damage, nerve cell damage, and I said to my doctor that look, if in the next line of treatment I ended up going back to where I was 2 years ago, quite frankly, I think I'd suicide. I think I'd jump off a bridge or jump under a truck or a bus or something like this. The pain, the discomfort, it's just difficult to put into words, into a way that you as a viewer will comprehend, because my guess is most of you watching this aren't living with physical discomfort. That just doesn't go away. I mean, having a shower is an issue because I lose balance in the shower. It's a real problem to have to live with. It's mentally stressing. It affects your mental health. Not being mobile as you once were, and if you saw images of myself in my prime before I developed cancer, just how physically fit I was and how much of an athlete I was, to go from that to where I am now is really, it's just soul destroying. I rarely ever drive anymore. My mother basically drives me everywhere because the neuropathy can affect the way I drive. The drugs that I've got to take, painkillers, affect my ability to drive. So it's not a very nice experience at all, Velcade. And then on top of that, you've got steroids, and steroids cause really emotional loss, loss of emotional control. So by that I mean, in the smallest act of kindness. So once I'm on steroids, in the smallest act of kindness, it can be anything. It can be just passing me a pencil that I can't reach, I will just break down into tears, crying like a child. And you know it's not you know it's the drugs, but it's actually quite humiliating to be in any kind of situation facing a human being, particularly a stranger, when they might do something nice for you, open a door, and you start crying. It's you don't feel like a man. At least I don't feel like a man. I can't speak for other people, and I don't mean to be sexist or bring sexism into it, but it makes me feel like, well, just lower than a carpet snake in wagon tracks, to be quite frank. So for these reasons, I've actually considered not taking any line of treatment going forward, and just letting nature take its course. And look, in addition to this, I forgot to mention, I also receive monthly Zamita infusions. So Zamita is a drug given to you. One of the consequences of myeloma is it basically steals calcium from your bones, and it scars those bones permanently. So my spine, which was initially completely riddled with tumours, has now been permanently scarred. Those tumours have since been dissolved by the chemotherapy, but the spine itself and my muscles and my bones rather, have been scarred permanently because of this, and consequently they're much weaker than they were, once upon a time. So if I was to come off my bicycle, for example, that could cause a real drama for me. It could lead to potentially breaking my spine, paralysis, and that's something that I faced actually when I was first diagnosed. I was near paralysis, but you can hear about that, I think, if you look at some of my other videos. So anyway, I've made the final decision to proceed with my second line of treatment. However, I have mentioned to the doctor that I am deeply concerned about this Velcade, and my hematologist has said, well, look, we can actually vary the dosage of the Velcade if you wish, but let's just start the treatment. So I've agreed to that. I'm going to monitor it to see how it continues. If there is a reversal of my neuropathy situation, to be honest with you, I don't know how I'm going to mentally handle that. I don't know what I'm going to do. It is beyond horrific. I wouldn't wish it on absolutely anybody. It is definitely not a comfortable place to be in. But look, I'm going to monitor it. The downside of that is, the downside of the monitoring is that by the time if I see a reversal of effect, a reversal of improvement, it'll probably be too late, because it does take some time for the effects to accumulate. So I don't know what I'm going to do, viewers. So anyway, that's my decision to proceed with the next line of treatment. I'm just crossing my fingers and everything else that I have to just in hope that the Velcade doesn't hit me like a piano like it did before. If it stays at this level, which is in itself extremely uncomfortable, but I've trained myself during my cardiovascular exercise periods to simply endure the pain, endure the discomfort. I've told myself, well, look, it's only an hour. It's only an hour every day. So for that hour, I just literally try and turn my mind off, distract my mind from the discomfort. But if I reverted back to the 24/7 level of discomfort where I couldn't sleep or anything like this, I just don't know how I'm going to handle that mentally. But anyway, look, first things first, I'm hoping that the next line of treatment actually does reverse at least the cancer growth, the growth of the cancer cells. If it does, fantastic. That's once again putting it to sleep. How long it might stay asleep for, if it does actually go back to sleep, I don't know. Could be a day, a week, a month, a year. I don't know. That's the nature of myeloma. At some point, it is just going to uncontrollably explode, and any and all treatments simply won't work. I'm not so much concerned about that, rather than my journey of discomfort from now until then. In some ways, should the myeloma explode in some ways, well, I know that there will be the end to the physical discomfort that I experience daily, and the drugs that I've got to take to try and manage that. As I mentioned before, I've tried just about every very, very serious painkiller out there, and it just doesn't work, because the nature of the damage is nerve cells, and my nerve cells are just stimulated by everything that they touch. So every time my skin touches something, my nerve cells are firing, and this is sending messages to my brain. So anyway, look, it's a very difficult thing to live with, but my situation is not unique. Other people have got it much, much worse. But I'm just managing the best way that I can. So anyway, viewers, look, that's the update for today, the 16th of December 2023. I'll cross my fingers for 2024, and hopefully I can give you another update in a year's time, and I don't know, hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll tell you, yep, cancer's at zero detectability. This neuropathy, neuropathy thing, well, don't know what it is anymore. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe magic will happen. Who knows? So that's my situation to date. I was disappointed by the fact that I got excluded from trials for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons for the exclusion was because I already had previously two transplants, two bone marrow transplants. Anyway, it took a long time to assess my suitability, and bottom line, it comes down to the scientific method. That's why I was excluded. Very, very understandably, you need to sit above a certain bar. You need to be able to jump over a certain bar to meet the standards for inclusion, because of the scientific method. So I completely get that. It's just unfortunate that I was ineligible in this instance. But look, anyway, medical science is progressing at a rapid rate of knots. I'm hoping that something will occur before my myeloma explodes, but it will explode. When it will explode is unknown. It could be literally at the end of this video, or it might not be for some point in the future. I don't know, but it is difficult. I must confess, it is difficult, extremely difficult, living with effectively a hand grenade or a time bomb inside your body, because you can't make plans. You've got to treat every day like it's your last, because it could be. You just don't know. And that's, I think, probably the single biggest mental challenge, is that you don't know. I mean, you can't. People on an everyday basis, they plan their future. Oh, I don't have one. They plan their financial growth, wealth, all these kinds of things. Well, I can't do any of that. You know, money to me has no value. In fact, money has no value if you don't have health. Money only has value if you have health. And in fact, it has its greatest value when you're youngest, when you're at your healthiest. So there's no point having, you know, all Jeff Bezos's money if you don't have health. You know, look at Steve Jobs. You know, very wealthy man, he died of cancer. So, look, this whole thing is it's a journey. I'll tell you, it's a journey. You learn a lot about life, a lot about yourself, a lot about what's important to you. Why are you here? Why are any of us here? You know, you think about all these things. Anyway, look, that's enough for me, viewers. It's a bit of a, well, look, this is called Rix Ramble, so I have rambled for a bit. So anyway, look, that's enough rambling for now. And I'll see you guys, hopefully, cross your fingers. I'll see you guys in 12 months. Cheers.